You're talking about like the persecution and how that shapes the way the church lives out the gospel. One of the things that I kind of, being a little bit more open is we're experiencing in the nation of Brazil and I would say an awakening. Some may
Mm.
even call it a revival. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into
Yeah.
what is or what isn't a revival, but I definitely would say that the young people are awakened and they're
Yeah.
hungry.
Wow.
And you just studying like revivals in the past, right? You study, let's say, even like what happened in South Korea,
Mm.
a few decades ago,
Yeah.
and you see like this curve. And we were talking about this
Yeah.
over dinner last night. One of the things that I kind of worry about is, are we going to see a move of God
Mm.
because of our hunger, and then with the move of God comes blessings,
Yeah.
and will we be able to maintain ourselves hungry, or will we be
Wow.
lost in the comfort of what Christianity brings as blessings?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
as we seek the Lord blesses us, and it's so hard to keep yourself hungry in the midst of abundance.
Yeah. Now, when you say that, I think, we hear about these revivals, and then these revivals end at some point.
Mm,
And it makes me wonder, why do they end? Like, they don't have to end.
exactly.
I mean, could Brazil, this movement among the young people, be the revival that doesn't end?
Wow.
I mean, to dream of that and believe in that, because
Yeah.
I think, okay, personally, I fell in love with Jesus when I was a teenager,
Okay.
and I'm 56 now.
Yeah.
I have 7 children, 4 grandchildren. Like,
Wow.
I've lived a lot of life, and I can honestly say, for these last 40 years,
Yeah.
I believe I have loved Jesus more every year.
Wow.
Every year.
Come on.
Man, I love him so much right now.
Yeah.
And ministry, I am more passionate about ministry than I believe I've ever been.
Wow.
But meanwhile, I've watched my friends
Yeah.
fall away one at a time, whether it's sin or boredom or just
Yeah.
pursuit of something
Distractions.
else.
Yeah.
And so I know personally, revival doesn't have to end. Like, people just assume, oh, you're going to go through these valleys, and
It's a wave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
yeah.
I'm going, it doesn't have to be that way.
Wow.
Then God
Wow.
designed us to where we can get closer to him
Yeah.
until the day we see his face. And
Yeah,
that's what
yeah.
he wants from us. He
That's
desires this progression.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
And you may feel it a little bit like with my wife of 30 years.
Wow.
I am so crazy about her.
Yeah.
I mean this. I
Yeah.
love her more. I desire her more
Yeah.
than I ever have.
That's
I am
awesome.
more blown away by our relationship. It's richer,
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I want the young people to understand this. This doesn't have to be a phase.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be, oh, I remember that revival
Exactly.
from back then.
Exactly.
I'm going,
Exactly.
yeah, I remember when I was 15.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was 25, 35,
Come on.
45, 55.
That's
And I
awesome.
want to keep growing in this.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to end. And if we have that mentality, then this larger, because the larger is about a bunch of individuals.
That's it.
And if we as individuals don't back down,
That's it.
then this revival will not die.
So if you would, let's say, speak to a nation that's hungry, or a generation that's hungry, or a people group that's hungry, what would you say? Hey, listen, I believe in a revival that doesn't end.
Yes.
What are some things that you would say? Keep this in mind as
Oh,
you
gosh.
as I'm just reminded of like
Yeah.
the Apostle Paul in his letters to the church,
Uh-huh.
and how he would exhort them and encourage
Yes.
them,
Yes.
and really seeing something like
Yeah.
like they were his kids. Like, hey, you guys got this.
Mm.
Make sure you don't lose this. What would you say to a
Yeah.
young generation as a grandfather?
Yes.
This is what you guys can't miss.
Gosh, I think I'm going to preach about this today a little
Okay.
bit, but my concern about this generation
Yeah.
is, do you know how to pray?
Wow.
Like, I talk to so many people that say, when I try to pray, my mind goes everywhere.
Yeah.
And I'm going, oh, that's so dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because this is what keeps you for the long run.
Prayer.
Is this intimacy with God,
Yeah.
where you get alone with him every day.
Yeah.
I remember my youth pastor would emphasize this when I was 14, 15 years
Yeah.
old, when I was first believing in Jesus.
Yeah.
He taught us to get alone with the Bible,
Yeah.
just me and God and
Come on.
scriptures, Holy Spirit, and just seek him.
Yeah.
And so I started doing that as a teenager, and every day, I remember being at winter camps, where there's snow outside,
Yeah.
and it's 6 a.m, and all my friends are asleep in the cabin, and I would
Wow.
walk outside and I would just seek God
Come on.
because I saw Jesus doing that.
Yeah.
And so I just kept, and now it's 40 something years later.
That's awesome.
And what do I do this morning? I get up, and the first thing I do is come into the presence of God
Wow.
and say, God, you are enough for me. I'm still amazed. I'm more amazed. Now that I know who you are
Yeah.
in an even greater way, I'm more amazed that I get to talk to you this morning.
Wow. Wow.
And so once we lose that thrill of prayer,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, 1 Peter 4:7 says the end of all things is at hand. Therefore, be self-controlled and sober-minded for the sake of your prayers.
Wow. For
You
the
know, you
sake of your
think, wait, the end is coming.
Yeah. Yeah.
You would
yeah,
think
yeah.
he'd say, okay, go do this, go do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
He goes, no, you better have your mind clear
Sober.
so you can pray.
Wow.
Like, that's the key.
That's it.
And so for me, so many obstacles, so many temptations, so many traps
Yep.
over 40 years. But every morning I come before God and I center myself.
It's just that holy rhythm
Yes.
that everybody needs to find.
Yeah.